Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Earlier this year, it was announced by Valve that they would finally be doing away with the broken and easily manipulated Steam Greenlight, a system that served as a tissue paper thin barrier to entry for asset flippers like Digital Homicide, BC Interactive, Zonatron Productions, and countless others, all attempting to get their Steam trading card farm money machines onto the Steam storefront. Valve quickly identified that the Greenlight system further served as a bottleneck in their attempt to get all the things, and so they finally replaced it with the new Steam Direct. This system that went live in June of this year features no community voting system to potentially bar the way for independent developers and asset flippers, and instituted a $100 recoupable filing fee for each game placed on the Steam storefront. And this Steam Direct is a culmination of months of, quote, listening to consumers, independent developers, and critics alike over the course of the past year. Indeed, Valve did seem to be making several positive strides in this regard. At first, even going so far as to invite both Total Biscuit and Jim Sterling to a meeting with Valve to discuss ideas on how the Steam storefront could be handled better. Valve also announced sweeping changes to remove the profitability for asset flippers, or what they call fake games, through a multi-pronged approach which included the implementation of the Steam Direct fee. And while most consumers were extremely skeptical that any of these changes would even be marginally effective, there were many, myself included, that remained pessimistically optimistic, if you will, if that makes any sense at all, in regards to Valve's changes, seeing them as an admittedly far from perfect but necessary first step. Myself and others like me adopted a wait-and-see attitude in regards to Steam Direct as a whole. Well, a couple of months have now gone by, and we are beginning to see the efficacy of Valve's latest brainchild, which is to say, all pretense at holding back the unprofessional, the amateurish, and the asset flippers has been removed. Anyone, and I do mean anyone, can get whatever it is they want onto the Steam storefront, provided they can pay the toll, and it would seem that Valve's belief that the $100 fee would serve as any barrier to entry for asset flippers at all is demonstrably false. We have seen time and time again over the past couple of months that asset flippers on the Steam storefront have not lessened at all. They've actually increased. Not only have they increased, but as I showed in a previous video, of which there will be another example being put out on this channel later this week, these asset flippers are diversifying their interests, creating multiple developer accounts in order to make it more difficult to track who is posting what particular piece of garbage onto the Steam storefront. Now, while I know that once the Greenlight doors were shuttered, Valve mass-approved a very large number of games, and so it would take a while to be able to garner any real data, as we would have to wait for the vast majority of those games to go live. And as more than a month have passed, we are able to start seeing some relevant data. And first, I apologize because I know I'm going to say this man's name incorrectly, but Thomas Bideau, the CEO of ICO Partners, a games marketing and PR company currently based out of the UK, produced some data showing us what we can expect now that we're seeing the early results of the new Steam Direct. Now, by way of comparison, in 2016, 4,207 games were released on Steam, totaling nearly 40% of all games on the platform at that time, according to Kotaku. Of course, I trust Kotaku is about as far as I can throw them, so I went to Steam Spy for some corroborative numbers, and it would seem that Steam Spy's numbers are a little higher at 4,761 games released on the platform in 2016. That makes it an average of 397 games per month, rounded off. Now, current Steam Spy numbers for 2017, which won't be entirely accurate yet as the Steam Spy numbers only include games with sales data available, which means that the Steam Spy numbers for 2017 so far are going to be lower than the actual figures, and we still come off with 3,170 games in 2017 so far, which equates to an average of 453 games per month rounded off. Now that's quite a staggering amount when you think about it. At 30 days in a month, that means there's a little over 15 games released per day on Steam by the average. Now, let's look at the data from Tom over ICO Partners to see what the new Steam Direct has in store for us, and it would seem that the number of new games are skyrocketing, with over 200 new games in the first week of August alone. This puts us at nearly double the average of 15 games per day, up to 29 games per day on average, just shy of double, and this trend is not likely to slow down. Now, I know that there are going to be an increase of legitimate games on the Steam storefront due to those developers no longer having to compete for attention in order to get greenlit. However, now the asset flippers do not need to expend resources and keys for votes in order to get their products onto the Steam Greenlight as well. And what a difference it's made. I mean, let's talk about the abomination that has been poisoning your screens for the last couple of minutes. I mean, besides me. This is Fidget Spinner Simulator by our old friend Berdiev over at BC Interactive. I mean, Elusive Team. I mean, Dissident Interactive. No, Red Square Studios. My apologies, this person has more developer storefronts on Steam than you can shake a stick at. Berdiev is the person who brought us Fidget Spinner Simulator, a game so vacuously empty and devoid of anything even remotely resembling a game that I very nearly wanted to rage punch my own monitor. Now, not only is Berdiev an asset flipper and a troll who has done literally everything under the sun that is part and parcel to your standard asset flipper playbook, excepting spurious DMCA strikes, but he is also one of the most dishonest and disgusting people you could ever expect to encounter in your life, and here's why. Now, Berdiev decided it would be fun to post a DLC package for this, whatever this is, and post it for a price tag of $50, which he then discounted to $30 because why the hell not? He's Berdiev and he can do literally whatever he wants and Valve will do absolutely nothing about it. Now, in this DLC package, it is posted that you unlock the Premium Member Achievement, and the DLC gives you a Premium Gold-Plated Fidget Spinner and Gold-Plated Vape. And while this is utterly abhorrent to begin with, it would seem the DLC does absolutely nothing, and you don't even get the promised achievement or items. And to be honest, I'm unsure which part makes me more angry, the fact that Berdiev is doing this, or the fact that there are at least 2 people that actually bought the damn thing. I mean, seriously, why? Why would you buy this? I don't even know what to say to those 2 people except that I weep for the future of humanity. The reason why I point this out is that this is the kind of person that Valve has opened the sluice gates for. This is the type of person that Valve apparently willingly does business with on a daily basis, and this is the type of person that takes visibility away from legitimate independent developers. As we can see, given the current massive influx of games on Steam, it's getting harder and harder for good devs and good games to gain visibility, to stand out from the pack of asset flippers and shady practitioners. Valve seems completely and utterly unwilling to maintain any form of standards with either the products on their storefront or of those they do business with, and it is the legitimate developers who suffer in the extreme. Now, many people ask why I point out people like Berdiev and others on this channel. Many see it as an insurmountable flood and think that giving up and moving on would be the better course of action. Others think I should concentrate more on promoting as many good games as possible and let people like this sink into obscurity. And in some ways, they'd actually be right. But it is my goal in doing the Dirty Devs and the Asset Flippers series of videos to make sure as many of you are steered away from undeserving people such as this in the hopes that you might go buy a worthwhile game instead. After all, critique isn't always about positivity and always pointing out the good. It's about analyzing something and presenting both it and the critical analysis of it to people to the best of our ability, and it's definitely not a job for everyone. I freely admit I still have a great deal to learn in this regard, but in this, I'm only too happy to gather as much knowledge and information as possible. Valve has proven they're completely unwilling to clean up their own yard, that they don't care for the quality of the product they sell or the quality of the business partner they allow to flourish, and so it falls to the critics and the gamers to do it instead. It falls to the Steam groups like Sentinels of the Store, to the critics and the pundits like Total Biscuit, Jim Sterling, and so many others, and it might fall a little on the shoulder of some idiot with a microphone and a passion for games like myself. Now that's why I do it, and that is why consumer awareness and education is even more valuable than ever before. And even though I might come across as far too preachy at times, it doesn't make me any less right. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.